see a feet like brass. The feet like brass, the eyes like fire, the voice of many waters. This being the Son of God and the prophecy is revealed throughout the Scriptures. First, starting in the book of Daniel. In the book of Daniel, we see an account of 3 men being put into the fire and a 4th being seen. In the book of Daniel chapter 3, verse 11, 19 through 25, it says, "And whoso falleth not down and worshippeth, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace." And then it goes on to say about this account, "Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace even 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. These men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flames of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound in the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." So this is the Son of God walking on the fires of the furnace and not being burned. And we know that brass can sit in high heat and not melt. And this is why we see in the prophecy that Christ has the feet of brass. Revelation chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. "And his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters." And with the likeness that is shared here, we see this to point to who this is. In the book of Ezekiel, the prophet Ezekiel saw who this is, which it is the Lord. Ezekiel chapter 43, verse 2 and 3. "And behold, the glory of the God of Israel came from the way of the east, and his voice was like a noise of many waters, and the earth shined with his glory." We see here that it's the glory of the God of Israel that comes from the east, and his voice is the voice of many waters, pointing to Christ in the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 15, where it says his voice is the voice of many waters. And we know this is the Lord because it continues on in verse 3. It says, "And it was according to the appearance of the vision which I saw, even according to the vision that I saw when I came to destroy the city. And the visions were like the vision that I saw by the river Chebar, and I fell on my face." So Ezekiel points to the visions that he saw at the river Chebar. He says the visions that he saw here are the same as he saw in the river Chebar. So looking into the prophecy of who he saw in the river Chebar, it'll become more clear. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 1, 26 through 28. "Now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God." So we see here he begins to see visions of God in the likeness of the one that he says has the voice of many waters. And in Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 26, it continues on and says, "And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it." So we see that there's a man above upon it, on the throne. The likeness of a man. In verse 27-28, And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire around about within, from the appearance of his loins even upward, from the appearance of his loins even downward, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had the brightness round about. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so is the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. So we see the likeness that Ezekiel talks about is that there is the appearance of like fire coming off this person, and it's the glory of God who sits on the throne, and he has the voice of many waters. And this is what he's revealing when he's describing this. And in Ezekiel chapter 8, he talks about the appearance. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, and from the appearance of his loins even downward fire, and from his loins even upward as the appearance of the brightness as the color of amber. And so what does the prophet Daniel see when he describes the same likeness? Because Ezekiel and Daniel both are describing the same thing. Daniel, in the prophecy of Daniel with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they talk about the Son of God being in the fire, walking among the fire. The Apostle John is talking about the one who has feet as brass, this one that walks in the furnace, and has the voice of many waters. His eyes are on fire. And then Ezekiel describes the same thing. And then further in the prophecy of Daniel, Daniel begins to describe the same thing. In Daniel chapter 10, verse 5 and 6, it says, Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, and his loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body was also like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire. And his arms and his feet like the color of polished brass. And the voice of his words were like the voice of a multitude. So in Daniel, we see that he's talking about having eyes that are like fiery eyes, and his feet as brass. This is the same thing that the Apostle John saw in the book of Revelation, chapter 1, where he talks about having the eyes of fire, the voice of many waters, and that he has the feet of brass. And this is further described and revealed in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 18, where it says, And the angel of the church in Thyatira write, These things saith the Son of God, who has eyes like unto the flame of fire, and his feet are like fine brass. So we see in this prophecy that it reveals that it's Christ with the eyes of fire, his feet are as the fine brass, and that he's the Son of God. And it reveals who that is in the prophecy. Just like it describes in the beginning of Daniel chapter 3, where the fiery furnace, the fourth person that is seen in the fire is as the Son of God. And the revealing of Ezekiel and the revealing of Daniel multiple times. And the revealing of the apostle describes the one who has the eyes of fire and the feet as like burning brass. So what is revealed here is that during the time of Daniel, where they saw the fourth one like as the Son of God in the fire, walking among the fire, that he has eyes of fire, he has from the waist upward, he has flames of fire, his feet were as a burnished brass, his voice is the voice of many waters, and he has eyes of flames of fire. And these are like exactly what is revealed in the prophecy of Ezekiel multiple times, and the prophecy in the book of Daniel chapter 10. So we know that in the Revelation verse that it reveals who that one is with the eyes of fire and the feet like fine brass. And that is the Son of God. And this is the Son of God that was seen from the beginning. Because Christ, before he came into the flesh, has been before. And this is why he's called the glory of the God of Israel. In the book of John, chapter 17, verse 5, he says, Father, glorify me with the glory that I had with you before the world began. And he is the glory of God, the Son of God, and the prophecy of Christ, with him having the eyes like the flame of fire, the feet like fine brass, and him being the Son of God, is fulfillment of all what the prophets have seen. And this is the prophecy of the feet of fine brass.